When we think about circuses and carnivals, we often imagine clowns, crowds, animal acts, rides, and games. But in the past, these lively and colorful family events had a darker side. One big attraction was the freak show, where people with unusual appearances or medical conditions were put on display for entertainment. Dating back to the 16th century, records from England tell stories of individuals with deformities and rare conditions being shown in places like bars, theaters, and circuses. This became really popular in the 19th century in countries like America and Great Britain, especially due to the efforts of P.T. Barnum, a famous circus promoter. These shows were a big commercial success, drawing crowds with promises of seeing unique individuals like people with unusual features or abilities. Some of these freaks amazed audiences with magic tricks, agility, and other talents. However, many were simply put on display to be looked at and examined by curious onlookers. As attitudes towards disabilities and differences changed over time, the popularity of freak shows declined by the 20th century. Nowadays, there are modern versions of these shows, but the performers focus on showcasing their triumph over physical challenges and have become respected entertainers for their skills. This is a far cry from the pity and curiosity that people with these conditions had to face in the past. Ella Harper, Camel Girl. Known as the Camel Girl due to the strange backward bend of her legs, Ella Harper had a condition called genu recurvatum from birth. This condition made her knee joints hyperextend in an uncommon way. Harper's case was exceptionally rare, making her walk on all fours due to how her knees were bent. She is believed to have been born in Hendersonville, Tennessee, around 1870 to 1873. However, due to the limited and accurate records of that time, much about her life remains uncertain. Around 1886, Harper became the main attraction of the W. H. Harris's nickel plate circus. Her name and likeness were featured prominently in local newspapers whenever the circus moved to a new location. For her performances, Harper earned a respectable income of $200 per week. She expressed her desire to leave the show business and pursue an education. After 1886, there is no further information about the Camel Girl Act. It's likely that Harper went on to lead a more typical life after her time with the traveling circus came to an end. Stefan B. Browski, Lionel the Lion-Faced Man. Many sideshow performers had fictional stories created for them or were given exaggerated personalities that played up their deformities or medical conditions. This was a common strategy used by promoters, especially when comparing them to animals, particularly if they had rare conditions like hypertrichosis, which causes excessive hair growth on the body. Stefan B. Browski, originally from Poland, became a well-known sideshow attraction in Europe and later at Coney Island, New York. His unusually long body hair made him look like a lion, which drew people to see him. Born in 1890, Stefan had 1-inch long hair all over his body, except for his palms and the soles of his feet. His mother rejected him as an abomination, and at the age of 4, he was sold to Mr. Sedlmayr, a German showman. Sedlmayr treated Stefan well and ensured he received an education. Despite his appearance, Stefan grew up to be a kind and intelligent man. In 1901, he moved to America and joined the famous Barnum and Bailey Circus. After 5 years, he returned to Germany. Stefan continued to travel and perform worldwide until he retired from the sideshow industry in the late 1920s. Tragically, he passed away from a heart attack at the age of 41 in 1932. Wang, the human unicorn. Cutaneous horns are an extremely uncommon skin condition that can make it seem like people have horns growing from their bodies. These horn-like growths are often considered a type of skin tumor. They usually don't grow more than a few inches long, although in very rare instances, they have been known to exceed 1 foot in length. In the 1930s, an intriguing case involving a horned human emerged from China. A Russian banker who was traveling took a photo of a Chinese farmer in Manchukuo. This farmer seemed to have a horn-like growth protruding from the back of his head, measuring over 13 inches long. The banker shared this photo with Robert Ripley, known for his Believe It or Not series. Ripley was intrigued and offered a reward to the farmer, named Wang, or anyone who could bring Wang to Ripley's Auditorium Museum in Baltimore, USA. Unfortunately, Wang was never located or heard from again. The original photograph, which Ripley used to create a wax figure for his exhibition, remains the sole known record of this man and his unique condition. Josephine Clawfolia, the bearded woman of Geneva. The bearded lady has been a common sight in freak show displays for a long time. While many of these acts garnered fame, along with some mockery and disbelief, few led as captivating and colorful a life as Josephine Clawfolia. Born in a small Swiss village in 1831, Josephine was born with a fine layer of fur covering her body, and she began showing signs of beard growth by the time she was 2 years old. Local doctors recommended that Josephine's parents take her to Geneva for treatment, but the consensus was that the condition was permanent, and shaving off the hair might make it grow back thicker. Josephine was sent to a boarding school, where the confident and unique young girl quickly learned how to draw a crowd, helped by her 6-inch bushy beard. Assisted by her father, who acted as her manager, Josephine embarked on tours around Europe from the age of 14. Her fame grew significantly when she styled her beard to resemble that of Napoleon III and received diamonds from the French leader. She fell in love with a talented young French painter, and the two got married. In 1851, they had a healthy son who also had similar hair growth. The family moved to New York, where Josephine joined P.T. Barnum's American Museum. Soon, she became the center of attention in a media frenzy when rumors surfaced that she might actually be a man, despite having given birth to a son. There were claims that Barnum himself might have stirred up the controversy for commercial gain. If that's true, it worked, as Josephine, along with her hairy son, managed to entertain over 3 million people while working for Barnum. Martin Loriot, the human owl. Unlike most freaks, Martin Loriot had the appearance of an ordinary person. However, beneath that exterior, Martin had an extraordinary ability: he could turn his head a full 180 degrees. Born as Martin Emmerling in Germany in 1886, he showcased his unique talent across Europe before arriving in the United States in 1921. Once in America, he quickly became a sensation, performing in renowned venues such as Bailey Circus, Hubert's Museum, Barnum and Bailey, and Ripley's Believe It or Not auditoriums. Promotional posters for Martin's act proudly announced that he could walk forward and look backward. But his talents extended beyond head turning. He was also a skilled animal trainer who taught cats and dogs to perform acrobatic tricks. Although he attracted massive crowds and gained popularity, Martin seems to have been a controversial figure and reportedly had sympathies with the Nazi regime. There is limited information available about his later life, but it's believed that Martin's relationships in the sideshow industry soured over time. His final recorded performance was in 1945 with Ripley. Mary Ann Bevan, the ugliest woman. In the world of sideshows, few nicknames were actually complimentary, but none were as harshly insulting as the one given to Mary Ann Bevan. She was promoted as the ugliest woman, a label that disregarded her as a person. Mary Ann's life was quite ordinary and married until she began to experience abnormal facial growth, severe headaches, and failing eyesight in her mid-30s. Acromegaly, an adult-onset disorder causing the pituitary gland to produce excess growth hormones, afflicted Mary Ann. This condition led to the distortion and enlargement of her facial features over time. After becoming a widow in 1914 and facing financial difficulties in supporting her 4 children, she entered an Ugliest Woman competition in desperation. When she won a cash prize, she turned to the sideshow circuit for a livelihood. Mary Ann joined the Coney Island Dreamland show and later worked with the Ringling Brothers Circus, embracing the sideshow lifestyle from 1920 until her passing in 1933. Her story highlights both the challenges she faced and the exploitation she endured as she navigated the world of sideshows. Mademoiselle Gabrielle, the half-woman. Freaks with missing limbs were a common sight in many sideshows. These individuals often amazed audiences by performing everyday tasks that people typically assumed they couldn't do without help, like eating or shaving. Mademoiselle Gabrielle, born in Switzerland in 1884, was a prime example of this independence despite being born without legs. By the age of 16, Gabrielle was already performing at the Paris Universal Exposition. She was often described as a half-woman due to her well-proportioned figure, with her torso ending neatly at her waist. Her popularity led her to America, where she joined the prestigious Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Strikingly beautiful and always maintaining an air of grace and poise, Gabrielle defied the public's typical perception of a freak. Her elegant demeanor earned Gabrielle a place on the vaudeville circuit, a more upscale form of entertainment. This was a rare accomplishment among freaks. Her sideshow days brought in a substantial income, and she led a regular life, even marrying 3 times. Despite her unique appearance, she managed to captivate audiences well into her 40s, maintaining her crowd-drawing power. Eventually, she is believed to have returned to Switzerland, her homeland, after retiring from the sideshow business. Myrtle Corbin, the 4-legged girl from Texas. From missing limbs to having extra limbs, Myrtle Corbin was born in Tennessee in 1868 with 2 additional legs. While she was a healthy baby overall, Myrtle had a congenital deformity called dipygus, which caused her to absorb the legs of her twin that hadn't fully developed in the womb. This resulted in Myrtle having 2 complete bodies from the waist down, as the 2 smaller pelvises had fused together. The smaller pair of legs were stunted in growth, but Myrtle was still able to move them. She entered the sideshow circuit at the age of 13, where she naturally became a star attraction. Performing in venues like those owned by P.T. Barnum, the Coney Island Circus, and the Ringling Brothers, Myrtle was renowned for her unique appearance. She had a sunny disposition and was often described as a gentle woman. At the peak of her fame, she earned up to $450 per week. Unlike many other individuals considered freaks, Myrtle received significant attention from the medical community. Scientific articles and journals were written about her from the day she was born. At 19, she married a doctor and eventually became a mother of 5 healthy children. When she decided to step away from the sideshow spotlight, other circuses and exhibitions reportedly attempted to deceive their audiences by featuring imposter 4-legged women. Myrtle Corbin's life was a fascinating example of how uniqueness can lead to both fame and a fulfilling personal life. Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man. Few life stories are as heartrending as that of Joseph Merrick. Born into a working-class family in England in 1862, Joseph faced abnormal growths from a young age. Modern medical experts believe he had neurofibromatosis type I and Proteus syndrome. His skin resembled animal hide, earning him the moniker the Elephant Man. Large tumors and abnormal bone growth covered his body. A fall at age 10 left him with a broken hip, leading to permanent lameness. Adding to his struggles, his stepfather subjected him to cruel beatings following his mother's remarriage. Joseph's deformities made finding permanent work challenging, leading him to face difficulty in manual labor positions at workhouses and factories. Despite undergoing a procedure in 1880 to remove a significant tumor from his face, he still struggled to speak clearly. In 1884, he turned to the traveling sideshow circuit. Eventually, he settled in London, residing behind a human curiosity shop where people paid to see him. Joseph's salvation came through surgeon Frederick Treves, who provided him permanent accommodation at London Hospital. Treves discovered that, contrary to assumptions, Joseph wasn't mentally impaired. In his later years, Joseph corresponded with well-wishers, pursued hobbies, and even ventured on day trips. Yet, his condition worsened, with his head enlarging. He passed away in 1890 at the age of 27, found dead in his bed with a dislocated neck. Treves noted that Joseph habitually slept upright, resting his head on his knees. His attempt to lay down might have caused his demise, as he sought to experience something normal people did. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of extraordinary lives and unique journeys from the world of sideshows and human curiosities. If you enjoyed these stories and want to delve into more intriguing content, make sure to subscribe to stay updated with our latest insights and narratives. Your support means a lot to us, and we look forward to continuing this journey together. Subscribe now to never miss out on fascinating tales from history and beyond.